welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. I got a special guest with me, Blair.
What's up?
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah,
super excited.
Sweet. All right, I don't think I've ever actually had anyone else on the channel ever. So this is sweet.
Oh, first time?
Yes, exactly. All right, why don't you tell the folks what we're gonna do today?
Brand new head, which is sweet. Mike really likes to go through heads. Comes with a new tip. So with a crank driver, different tip. Obviously from our Titleist tip,
This is Titleist on that one, yeah.
Patterson Connects shaft, I'm going to be swapping the tips, just using equipment I have.
Sweet.
Yeah, from there, not a whole lot.
All right, it looks like there's a bunch of stuff on this table. I don't know a ton about this, and that's why I rely on Blair a lot. Let's take a closer look at everything that we're gonna need on the table. You're probably not gonna be able to do this at home, but in case you want to invest in stuff, this will be everything that you need.
So what we got here is my shaft extractor. It should be bolted down to the table. It's not, which sucks, makes it a little bit harder. All this guy does here is load pressure. It's dead straight on. Using this guy, which is gonna block off your tip exactly like that. Super easy. 2-part epoxy, it's 1-to-1 ratio. My mixing cup, and then shaft beads. Shaft beads can be super important. What they're gonna do is actually align that shaft dead center with your ferrule. Anything a little bit off is funky, doesn't work very well. Blowtorch, and this guy here is just my wrench. It's gonna tighten up here, low pressure. Spins, it's got a little slot in there. Make sure this guy's clean, it really likes to slide. From there, this guy is going to move over. Curl in. I gotta leave enough room for this guy. All this does is block the heat from the rest of the shaft so it doesn't screw up the rest of the shaft. Clamp this guy down. As soon as I do that, this is my rig. This is how everything's gonna work. These two guys here are all they're gonna do is push this block forward just to make more tension for this. What I'm gonna do first is you'll see this ferrule is just a straight plastic ferrule. As soon as I apply pressure, it's just gonna slide off. It's not going to include the tip though, which kind of sucks. So as soon as you do this, you're gonna see that this ferrule is just gonna squish. It's gonna keep going and going and going. From there, I'm gonna get to a point. You can see it's squished. It's not coming off like that, so I'm gonna burn it off. So these things are completely plastic. It's gonna be hot. Comes off. So you can see I got an actual ridge where this guy sits in super nicely and just sits flush.
And so before it was just not sitting flush because that ferrule was on blocking it. So then it goes back in our little doohickey, but now it can sit totally square. So when Blair turns that wrench, it's gonna actually start pulling it off.
Cool. And then just more tension. You can see where this being in the table would be helpful. I'm just loosening it off to restart this whole process. Sometimes it takes a little while just to catch and actually pull.
That's why we backed off from doing this, because Blair was seeing it get a little off center. And if you continue going, if it's off center, it's basically like doing this without this tool. Yeah. And the whole reason for this tool is to keep it dead straight when you're pulling the tip adapter off the shaft.
Exactly. So we're gonna reload it, flip, squeeze, loosen, tighten. You can see as soon as I do this, my loaded bar here is gonna tell me when it's all the way loaded. So unloaded right now, meaning there's very little tension on it. As soon as I give it a good pull, this thing's gonna slowly go up and down.
On the bright side, this is a true testament to how good you are at your job.
Yeah,
because it's so hard to take off. You were the one to put this one on.
Yeah.
So
it's a good
that's
thing.
good. It's a good thing. It's difficult.
Well, we did this one twice, remember?
We did do this one, yeah.
So we figured out with ferrules and tips themselves. I didn't actually know. As soon as you grab a tailor-made one, they're dead straight. Callaway and Titleist I've actually never worked with before, so I tipped it and made it all good. This guy itself is dead straight. The Titleist one fits a little bit offset, and we were a little worried about it. And then I did the process twice, and it still did the same thing.
And crank will be the same, because if we look at the crank tip,
see.
if you it's way easier to see once it's on a shaft.
This is a big part here. Okay, so now that it's gone, I have loaded pressure. It's stopped. All my pressure from here went all the way down, meaning this guy is almost ready to take off. It is really hot. You're gonna see a drop here in a second. This is gonna be fun. Come on, come on. It's coming.
It's anticlimactic so far, Blair.
No, it's coming.
Oh!
Ready?
Hey!
Bang.
Bang, there we go.
So your shaft is still intact, which is absolutely what we wanted.
That is pretty much necessary. Actually, what I was saying was Krank is like the same as Callaway and Titleist, where they have the lie adjustment built into the tip, which is why, like, if you look at it dead straight, impossible to see with just the tip. But once we got it on that shaft, then looked at it straight, it looked like it was like epoxied on off center. But since Callaway and Krank and those guys, like, you turn these cogs on the adapter, unlike TaylorMade, these have to be kind of like weirdly not exactly straight.
So now that I've had this guy done, that's its main use. Take off the ferrule. As much as, or like, sorry, the tip. As weird as that sounds, that is an expensive machine for one job.
But it really matters, because if you try to do that without that machine and you break one shaft, I bet one shaft costs more than that thing.
Yes.
So,
yeah, over my grinder. What I'm trying to do is just clean this guy up, as well as I'm gonna have to drill into the inside because the inside's full of epoxy, which messes up your swing weights.
little golf ASMR on the
You can
mic.
see how light I'm being.
Yeah, you don't need much pressure to take off that epoxy.
Sweet. So all I'm doing here is the shaft from about here, because it was in this tip, or this tip, it's filled with epoxy. So
Gotcha.
all it's gonna do every single time, it's just gonna give it a little bit of butter hold. Your swing weight is designed in such a way with that in there. So it's kind of already in there.
Right, because guys, when shafts come from the factory, they're hollow, correct? You don't have,
Correct.
like, where you're drilling,
Correct.
you're basically making it look like it came from factory. again.
Correct. Because it's so fine of an epoxy, I'm actually just gonna use a little poker. Just to...
And if people were doing
There
it
you
at
go.
home, yeah, now it's
So bang on, all that epoxy, bang out of there, super good. What it'll do now is actually just fill with epoxy again, just to give it a stronger hold.
yeah. And if you couldn't get it with the drill, if you are doing it at home, you could start it with that pick, and then Blair almost didn't get it with the pick, and then you could go back to the drill just to make sure that it's all square
easily.
and centered.
Throw
but-
the drill on reverse, easy enough.
Yeah.
I'm just peeling off his World Long Drive sticker. It's ugly. I don't really care that he does World Left Drive.
It's seen better days. You know what? This shaft has never been hit in World Long Drive because Titleist didn't build that driver correctly. So I got the sticker, checked it in at World Long Drive, and never hit it.
As you can see, his sticker sucks. Leaves residue, which is not supposed to. I'm gonna give it a little wipe. See how much of that stuff I can get off.
On today's episode of Blair's Automotive Detailing Shop.
Oh man, I gotta make this thing look perfect for you, right?
Exactly.
First time on the channel. We have all our products here. Head, tip, shaft. These guys are our shafting beads. I don't know if I've talked about this already. Shafting beads are to align the shaft with the tip. So keep it dead flush. I don't think we're gonna need very many if we use them at all. As soon as
You mix that in with your epoxy
exactly.
once it's mixed.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Because it fits so flush and so nice, I don't think we're gonna need this. Don't need a whole lot of epoxy. Looks pretty one-to-one. Again, I eyeball this crap. I shouldn't, but I do. I'm gonna do a little pinch. It's literally just a pinch. Pops a stick, mix that guy through. Tip sits very nice. What I'm gonna do is pop this guy off. I don't wanna get epoxy down the shaft. It sucks. So what I'm gonna do is keep it down there, and then from there, grab my epoxy,
So you're saying always put take the ferrule off,
take the ferrule off,
put it on the shaft, then
put it on the
epoxy.
shaft, and then put it on the epoxy. I left it down, so as soon as I slide that up, I'm gonna have epoxy there and it's gonna glue there. Nice even layer. Just kind of spin it as the popsicle stick gives you an even layer. Do the tip. Okay. Sweet. And then from there,
Just an unreal finesse from the man.
this guy, I'm gonna just kind of put a little bit of epoxy in there. Slide it in.
Oh, more ASMR. There you go.
All I'm gonna do, clean up this epoxy. It actually doesn't get hard instantly. Slight problem here. This ferrule, because it's got a little bit of connector piece, I thought it would be flush. It's not. So what I'm gonna do is actually clean the ferrule up with the actual tip itself.
Oh, because it kind of sits.
It sits inside. It sits inside. So unfortunately, As much as I'd like to have a clean tip at the end, it's not going to allow me to do that.
What Blair was saying, I guess, with this type of ferrule, this is probably specifically only a crank thing. If you're doing this, every other ferrule butts up like flush against the tip, whereas this ferrule insets into the bottom of the tip. So we have to put them on together.
Nice little even layer there. Look at all that extra epoxy. Don't need it. Can go back.
And you didn't even put more epoxy in the jar.
No, because
we still have
it's already in there. Oh, in the jar? No. You can use so little epoxy.
Yeah.
Dead straight. Pop this guy on there. Sweet. You're going to see all that epoxy overflow. That's what I was trying to get rid of. But whatever. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's going to look, I mean, you're grasping at straws. It's nitpicky, if anything.
Super.
Because you could then, once that epoxy, then if you really cared that much, you could take like a fine little toothbrush-sized wire brush, and really get off the bottom of where that ferrule is.
Absolutely dead on.
And then after that, you could do Goo Gone or an alcohol swab or something to get it all off. Yeah.
So tips on there. It is absolutely dead straight. I've used my shafting breeds correctly. It fits like an absolute glove.
Yeah, this was way easier than Titleist.
Way easier than Titleist.
Shout out Krank.
Yeah, shout out Krank. Dead straight. I'm gonna make it sure it's straight. Mike's gonna make sure it's straight. I think it is, so I'm probably right, but it's fine.
I haven't seen him be wrong. You were once wrong in like 2009, but what a crazy year that was. It looks pretty much straight. Again, eyeballing it.
2009. I was 5, guys.
I forget how young Blair is sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Bang on.
So that's why I pick it to go down this side, because even if it's off ever so slightly, you're not gonna see it, because if it was on this side, you're gonna line up that line on the tip to the logo on the shaft. So if you go the opposite way, it's just blackness, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that looks pretty much bang on to me, man.
Sweet.
So then what? Then we just leave that?
So we can leave it like that.
24 hours?
Your grip's looking a little gross.
A little worse for wear.
Do you like the mid-size?
Yeah, I do the mid-size, but I don't think you had the mid-size here, so what we did was we used the standard and then did a double wrap.
I was going to say, if you want the new grip, I have the new grip.
We'll save that for another one, I think, because I might buy a TPT shaft, which
sweet. That'd be sweet.
News to the YouTube channel now.
It's got Mike on it.
What's interesting, do you know, this might be news to you, but so TPT is doing something that's going to, I think, revolutionize driver fitting.
Ooh.
So... See how this is a crank tip?
It is a crank tip.
So TPT is doing something where they have their own proprietary tip, but then they have like cog adapters to fit like Callaway or TaylorMade or Titleist or Krank, everything. They have adapters to fit onto a TPT shaft. For me, it's kind of interesting because like if I love the 21 High, for example, from TPT, and you want to use the crank head, and it's a 4 degree, but then all of a sudden, if the wind shifts and you're howling downwind and you want to put your Callaway 8 or 9 degree in it to flight the ball way higher, you can do that in literally 2 minutes. Whereas every other manufacturer, you'd need to do everything we've just done in this video to get a new tip on here. So
dead straight.
Blair's lining this up.
This is my golf gripping machine. What it does is just put solvent through. All I'm doing here is because we reshafted this guy with the grip itself. I don't think I put this one on here, but
I think you did.
Did I? Okay, I might have.
Probably.
All I'm doing is making sure this guy, this logo, and this little cog line lines up. I want everything to be absolutely perfect.
Zoom in on that.
Can you see it? If you can see it, sick. If you can't see
Can't really see the end tip,
I
but it's straight. And then
Straight.
the reason why we don't use this to actually pull the tip off of the driver, oh, we put it away. That's all good. Because up here, yeah, so the driver tip sits in this. See, my finger disappears? That sits in there. So it balances it so that it's straight here, and then it also straightens there. Whereas if you just have a re-gripping one,
there's nothing here.
There's nothing additional on that. It's only going to balance just the shaft, which is perfectly fine for re-gripping, but not for peeling a tip off of the shaft. Well, we're all done here. I'm gonna, like I said, we'll leave the shaft here. I didn't actually even need to bring the driver head or the tool, whatever, but
it makes it look cool.
It does make it look better. And then, yeah, I'll probably pop back tomorrow. Oh, I'll have to take a picture. We gotta make it a thumbnail because I always forget that shit. So
of the driver itself?
Of the drive, once it's actually done and on. So we'll get that done. Sweet. But that is a little bit. No worries. Thanks for joining. Thanks for jumping on the channel. Thanks for letting me intrude on work hours. Big Boss came by. Hopefully we don't get Blair talking.
I am Big Boss.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, that's how to take a tip on and off of your driver shaft. hopefully this helps if you're trying this out at home. Till
Good
next
luck.
one, have a good one.
Peace.